as Janice did by checking it out. All right, superheroes, guns, and wrestling. Chances are, if you've ever had a little boy in your household, you have seen the obsession. So why are little boys so interested in violence even when you try to shield them from it? Here to shed some light is our child psychologist, Dr. Cynthia Arnold. Doctor, good to have you with us again.
Thank you.
It is funny. I have a 6-year-old nephew, and really he is all about the guns and the moving fast and, you know, shoot 'em up and all of that. And yet it seems like we're trying to shield our little ones from things like that.
Hopefully. So there's kind of two parts to that question, really. The first part is, are boys more naturally inclined towards aggressive things?
Yeah,
and the
are
second,
they?
Yes. And the second part is, are we exposing kids too much to media violence? They're really two separate questions. So let's answer sort of one than the other. Anyone who's been pregnant can tell you that hormones are way more powerful than we ever guessed. And boys and girls have different hormones. And boys do have more testosterone, and that tends to make them a bit more impulsive, a bit more aggressive, and so forth. So they're pretty naturally drawn to sort of the saving things, the heroic things, the physical things, more than girls are. They tend to be more sort of community-based.
Well, we kind of talk about violence and it being a negative thing, but a lot of times, and you've mentioned that superheroes are trying to save the world. They want to be Superman, or my little nephew loves Spider-Man.
So that's perfect, because that's exactly what my suggestion is be very careful what your little person is watching, because the research now shows that by 18, people see 400,000 acts of violence and 20,000 murders.
Wow.
So the danger here is that we're teaching people that it is okay to hurt people, kill people, and that really is what our little kids are learning. So if we lean them more towards, just as you said, the superheroes, the police officers, the firemen, the heroes, that's fine, and that's a great way to sort of use their testosterone, their natural-born heroic interest, in a very positive way. But a lot of the video games and so forth aren't showing it that way.
Right, they're
and that's
very violent, yeah.
It is, and so when we go back and look, there was actually a recent study done at the University of Washington, which I can tell you a little bit about, looking just at this. It was doing, I forget how many years, like 10 or 20 years, but a very long study of violence and what happens. And what they found is that kids between 2 and 5 years old, for every hour they're exposed to violence in terms of media, there's a 400% increase in their irritability, aggression, and violent behavior. That is huge.
Yeah.
And so people are like, what do we do? And the quicker answer is you need to watch what your kids are watching and make sure that you're okay if they're doing exactly what those characters are doing that they're watching or playing. So if it's a policeman, you might be fine with it.
Right.
But if it's someone stealing a car as fast as they can, that's not something you want them to emulate.
You know, I know some parents have been pretty strict about guns, even so much as like water guns they won't have in the house, or any kind of the play guns. What is your thought on that?
We have to respect that boys are going to be boys and try to help them direct it as appropriately as possible. I laugh because we actually had a patient come in who said, I'm always very careful not to let my son have anything that's aggressive and so forth. And he picked up a Barbie and was like, pow, pow, pow. And it's like, and this parent did not expose their kids to that. There is a natural tendency towards protection and heroism and so forth. So celebrate a boy being a boy, but be very thoughtful and careful of how you direct it.
Well, because what we're trying to avoid is the Kip Kinkles. Really, that's what we're trying to avoid, right?
Yeah, exactly. We are learning animals, and all of this, the violent video games and movies and what have you, is really teaching them that there's no consequence. Game over, you get 4 more lives. That's not reality. So we need to really teach kids what is reality and what isn't. People say, how do I know when things have gone too far? And that is when your little person does not understand the difference between hurting someone or hitting someone on a video game and in real life. That in real life, when you hit somebody, they could die. There are many reports of children, say, doing wrestling maneuvers and so forth, not realizing they're dangerous, doing it to their sibling, and the sibling dying. They just did not understand that it truly can be deadly. That is when you get concerned, when kids are doing it outside of play in a non-play way. They don't get it.
How early should you teach your child in the concept of death or really hurting somebody? I mean, is it...
Very young. You don't have to give them all the ins and outs of what you're talking about. I mean, my little boy's 13 months old now. He hits me and I say, no, no, no. You know, I'm teaching them early. That's a thing we do not do. So the answer is, as soon as kids learn, you direct them as to what's appropriate and inappropriate, just in a developmentally appropriate way.
Well, and we mentioned the guns because kids will, make, like you said, take a Barbie and go bang, bang. But and I've also heard kids will, like, take their toast and chew it into the shape of a gun. You know, take Legos and make guns.
As I said, there's a natural inclination for heroism and knighthood and pirates and all of these things.
So celebrate that.
Celebrate boyhood, but let's be very careful as to how we direct it and develop it in a pro-social way.
And I thought what you said is really important. Watch what they watch. If they're watching these violent movies, you need to know what they're seeing, right?
Because the trick is not to stop them from everything, but to talk with them and help them understand pretend versus reality. It's not terrible to watch a movie, even with violence. If you're sitting there going, you know, pause, this would actually hurt somebody. They would die. You can't do this in real life. This is just pretend. Research shows that that does undo a lot of the damage. It's when you just get to watch it and you believe that it's real, and believe that there's a reward for your action. Those are very, very dangerous, and even more so if you identify with the character. So if the little kid on the screen looks just like you, and he's rewarded for the dangerous behavior, you're in big trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Arnold, thank you so much. I want to tell folks if they'd like to get a hold of you, they can. Your number is on the screen, 503-274-0996.